Welcome to Swedish Jr Hockey Podcast. Jacob Dahlin, your host. Today we have an ex-NHLer that is in his second career. Welcome to the podcast, Andy Sutton.
Hi, Jacob. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me.
This episode is brought to you by Scandlux, your home for Scandinavian luxury products for the U.S. market. You can find us at scandlux.com.
You know, you've been around and you got a unique background because you didn't go straight from, major juniors into the pros, but you had a little bit of a different background coming up, right?
Yeah, I was never drafted. I didn't make my midget team, so I cut for midget. I played Tier 2 Junior B in Gananoque, Ontario. So I was I think the youngest player in the league at 15 and 16, playing with guys with mustaches and jobs and baby mama drama, and that was a really unique experience for me. And then I then ended up getting a pretty fortunate opportunity to go play at St. Michael's College, which at the time was the preeminent place to go if you wanted to try to get a scholarship. And that was my inclination. You know, I didn't get drafted to major junior. To be honest with you, at that time, I was a very late bloomer and probably not even close to ready for either major junior or U.S. college for that matter. But nonetheless, I got a scholarship to Michigan Tech, and that's really where things kind of blossomed for me. It gave me 4 years to work on my craft and also get a world-class engineering education. So it checked a lot of boxes, and even there I didn't get drafted to the NHL at 18, despite being, 6'6" and 240-pound defenseman. I was available in the draft and overlooked, and then, didn't really do much of anything through the first 3 seasons. I actually got a scholarship as a forward, got moved to defense my sophomore year. That took a little time on the Olympic ice, as you could imagine, to figure out. And then really, the decision was, I have had so many of these forks in the road throughout my life, and I had an opportunity to go take an internship with the U.S. Navy the summer before my senior year, and I turned it down to stay on campus and work on campus and just really get focused for the season. I honestly, in my mind, I thought, well, this might be my last kick at the can, so I'm gonna give this my full attention. And at the end of that season, I won Defensive Player of the Year and was an All-American, and had 14 NHL teams offer me the maximum signing bonus to come and play in the NHL, and the rest is kind of history as far as making it there, and then staying for as long as I did is another story entirely.
So did you actually graduate, and then, or so you actually went through and walked, and then you went into the pros?
Correct. Yeah.
That's awesome. So go back a little bit, because let me see here. I got to leave prospects up here. So it does say you're born in London, Ontario. Is that actually true, or is that just?
Yeah, it actually is true. I'm born in London, Ontario. My family grew up predominantly in the Burlington and Oakville area. I played in Burlington minor hockey. Grew up an avid Leaf fan. My dad fortunately had some partial season tickets, so I got a chance to experience the Maple Leafs as a child, which definitely led to my love of the game. And my dad's a super passionate hockey fan and always has been. So I think we've always shared that in common, the love of this great game.
Yeah, was he a hockey guy? I mean, other than a fan, did he play?
He did. He because of circumstances as a child, he didn't really get a chance to have the same level of access that I did. And but he played men's league like 3 days a week up until a week before he had double knee replacement surgery in his 60s. So I mean, this is a man who definitely left it all out there for the love of the game.
Yeah, it's funny though. I mean, it's I mean, I grew up in a hockey town, and everybody played at some form or fashion, and it's. I was able to look at my dad's hockey pictures up till he was 15. And it was like, when I was growing up, I didn't even know he played. And he never watched me play because he was always working. But, that's kind of how it is. So here's kind of the two things I wanted to talk about today is one, because of the position you're in now, because you're retired and have a post-pro career in the same game that you're in, which is awesome, and how that, how you're perfectly set up for that. But, as I was out here working the other day, and I was thinking about this coming up, and I thought, and I don't know where I heard it, but the cost of the game. So my son is playing in Sweden now, playing juniors over there, and I think the fees are like for the full season is $400, right? And and the versus if he was going to play, he's an 05, so he could have still played another year of U18s here. And if he would have played in, let's say in Detroit, and or I'm in North Carolina, so if you want to play AAA here, you have to travel everywhere, and a weekend is going to be $1,500 just in hotel and food and either gas and rental cars or airfare, right? So a season can easily be, 20 grand US easily. And that doesn't, there's you can go north and south of that. So I wanted to talk about kind of the cost of hockey and how that is impacting the future of the game. But I also wanted to get your views on we're coming out of, we're not too far out of the World Juniors, and you played with international players, and we'll talk about a couple of our common denominators here in a second. So, but let's start off. So you grew up in London, but you didn't. So like you said, you didn't take a regular path. Why was that?
I mean, to be honest with you, it's timing. The fact that this is in the late '80s, early '90s. Sort of that time when I should have been ready for OHL draft, and then ultimately, ready for NHL draft in like '82, '83 or whatever that was. I mean, I wasn't there. Sorry, '92, '93. I wasn't really there as a young athlete. I needed time to develop. I was tall. I had a 7-inch growth spurt in like the 11th or 12th grade, something like that. And then it took me a few years to catch my body to catch up. And really I had a lot to learn in going away to Michigan Tech for the 4 years really bought me the time to focus on development. You get a lot of ice time. I'm a big guy, and so chasing little guys around Olympic ice definitely made me a better skater. It made me learn more about angles, made me learn more about really how to play defense in that vein, I guess. And from there, I just kept trudging on and working on my body, working on my mind, working on my game. And thankfully, everything kind of worked my senior year. And I had a lot of opportunity coming out of that obviously, as you can imagine, undrafted, All-American, defensive player of the year at 6'6" and 245 pounds in the early '90s. I mean, I can imagine, that's the Chris Pronger, Darian Hatcher era. So that was probably a pretty easy sell for my agent at the time, I can imagine.
Yeah. So you actually, so how old were you when you went into college? Were you 18?
I was 18. Yeah.
And before that, so you said you played, so these aren't they're around anymore, but the Met JAHL and the EOJBHL, these are some abbreviations that,
Yeah.
So what level was that? I mean, is that junior A, or how was it back then?
Yeah, so I think back then, like when I went and played for St. Michael's College in Toronto, and I went to the school. It was a Catholic school. I still lived with a billet family there, and
Is that is that the Buzzers?
Buzzers, yeah. That's before they converted to Junior A. So they're an OHL team now, but they had a Junior B, like a tier 2. They used to be called Tier 2 Junior A back then, but really was Junior B league, and played against like the Wexford Raiders, which was another like really famous team at the time. And there were a whole host of teams in Southern Ontario that were in that vein. And it spent the year there. And I think I signed my commitment letter with Michigan Tech in, I think it was in October or something like that. So I signed relatively early into that season and was excited to focus on that next phase of my life.
Yeah. Were you, so you went into engineering? Did you already, I mean, school was important and I mean, did you go in right away kind of deciding that this is a big deal? School.
I mean, I'm an overachiever by nature, to be honest. And I actually started out in biology because I really thought the only job that I wanted to do was to be a family doctor. And that remained true throughout the course of my career. But then I came to find during my second year, and I was always quite good at math, I could go to medical school with an engineering degree. So I thought, well, that sounds like a better idea. So I converted to environmental engineering. I've been an outdoor enthusiast my whole life, hunting, fishing, and camping, and that type of stuff. So it made sense to try to work somewhere where I could have an impact on the environment. As I said, very ambitious to a fault, but it ended up being a world-class education. I learned how to learn, and I think those are value sets that I carry with me. How to manage being a student athlete is something that I definitely carried with me. Playing Division I hockey and studying engineering is a daunting achievement, and that taught me a lot of great values there, and that level, the work ethic, and the cerebral nature with which I've been fortunate enough to be able to learn how to apply to things is definitely something that I apply to business today, and it definitely helps with progressing and evolving my business on a daily basis.
When did you know, or when did you start believing, hey man, I may actually become a pro in the NHL?
It really didn't happen until my senior year. So I'm 22 years old. Yeah, and I tell people that all the time. If you'd asked me my junior year, so a year prior, like, Andy, what do you see for yourself? I might have said to you, like, maybe I'll dip my toes and see if I can play in the East Coast League, or maybe I'll try to find somewhere in Europe I can play for a few years, see how that goes. But I knew that I wanted to have more stability. So I think I would have always come back to the educational component and probably would have gone to medical school at that time. But, life has a funny sense of humor. Once I got started down the path, of the NHL, it kind of, hockey chose me. I didn't choose it, type of thing. And, they pay you well, obviously. And, it stretched out over 16 years after that. So, look back on it now, it feels like a different lifetime.
Yeah. So since this is kind of, this podcast has become more than just a Swedish Junior Hockey Podcast, but since it does have the Swedish component in there, you've played 14, 16 years in the pros. Famous or maybe not famous, but memorable Swedes that you played with throughout your career. Who comes to your mind?
Well, there were many. The most notable early on in my career definitely was Nicholas Haviland, and Nicholas was my partner in Atlanta. We were D partners, and I like to think we were really good D partners. We were the top pair there and played against the other team's top lines. I think we played together for pretty much three full seasons. And we were the go-to guys that were on the ice when we needed a goal or needed to stop a goal from going in, 5-on-3s, 5-on-4s, critical moments. So Nicky and I shared a lot of those moments and had a very unspoken way of communicating, where I think we were really well matched for one another. We had I'm trying to think who else was there at that time. Andreas Carlson, as you mentioned, your good friend, was on that team the first year I was there. We didn't, I got there in January, and we got beat out. We didn't make the playoffs, so we were done in early April. So I really only spent like three months with him at that point, and then I don't think he was back with the team in the fall. But then the next most notable for me, and I'll really never forget what it was like to play with and against Daniel Alfredsson. But he was the captain when I got traded to Ottawa. My defense partner there for the entire time I was in Ottawa was Erik Karlsson. So to get a chance to go there and be the guy standing beside Erik Karlsson in retrospect of what he's done in his career, and getting a chance to play with, I think, the best leader in hockey I ever played with in Daniel Alfredsson was really meaningful and incredible. And I know I'm leaving a lot of Swedes off the list, but I said this to you and before we went live, is the Swedes are always impressed me so much with how strong of mind that they are, the work ethic, how tough they are. I remember Marcus Ragnarsson when I was in San Jose, and this was my rookie year, and this happened to me later. I shattered my finger and it came in sideways, and I didn't bat an eye at it, but he came in and one of his fingers was pointing the wrong direction, and he looked like he was just asking for a cup of coffee, and they reset the thing, and he was back out in the game. And I just remember that across the board with the Swedes. I mean, they were always had an incredible work ethic. First guys in the gym, first guys on the ice, last guys off. Just led by example all the way around. So hopefully that's still true today, but definitely it seems like the Swedish people share a lot of the same core values as Canadian people, just relative to sort of a blue collar mentality and work playing and doing things with integrity and with meaning and honor and all the things that are sort of imperative core values.
Yeah. Have you ever had an opportunity to go over there? I know you didn't go play over there. I know some did, like Kopitar and these guys. Hedberg that we mentioned earlier went back and played in Sweden. I think Chara was playing there during the lockout year too. But have you ever been over there now in your?
I sadly still haven't been. I'm actually forgetting my good friend Andreas Lilia was one of my good buddies in Anaheim. Yep. They'll keep coming to me. And you mentioned Johan Hedberg. Hedy and I were super tight. We played in the minors a little bit together and played in Atlanta, obviously, together. And I think about Johan, and Bob Hartley used to skate the hell out of us. And I can remember he would do suicides of a thing he called I can't even remember what he called them, but we had to do these often, and Hedy could beat a couple of players on our team in speed. I mean, he could do it in less time than a couple of the players. I mean, he was just such a specimen as far as like his physique and his work ethic and his level of fitness. And he was always the guy at the end of practice taking all the 100-mile-an-hour one-timers at the top of the circle. And I mean, I just remember all of that so well. But I really would love to go over at some point. I've become good friends with Peter Sibner, and we're affiliated with Elite Prospects. We do some stuff with Elite Prospects, and there's a natural tie, and I think we share a lot of the same values they do with regards to growing the game and that type of thing. So at some point, hopefully we can find a way to get over to Scandinavia together.
Yep. Well, let's talk about that subject about Sweden versus US in terms of like the cultures and maybe Canada too, in terms of the problem with, it's an amazing sport. It kind of, where's it going as the scary part here is that it's, when we say hockey's for everybody, and it isn't really for everybody. It is everybody ought to be able to love it, but going to an NHL game is expensive, right? Heck, even subscribing to Bally Sports down here in the Carolinas isn't cheap. And if you play, I probably could have bought another house instead of paying for my son's youth hockey career. And so on, but it's an expensive sport. And what's your thoughts about that versus how you grew up? It's kind of careening out of control almost.
Yeah, and then look, my dad, we were a single income family. He was a locksmith until he was about 70 years old. I mean, he worked his ass off to provide for us and still toted me around wherever I needed to go to play. And that the costs were less then. There, I obviously work in the business now with Verbero, and I'm well aware of the costs. We work predominantly with teams and associations. Our focus is on all things custom. So I look at it. And I talk to a lot of people in it, parents. I talk to hockey program directors, team managers. I talk to the kids. I mean, I'm as up to speed on this as anyone, because this is the landscape that Verbero plays in. And all I can do is work to create programs that support and insulate hockey associations. So we do some really incredible things. We call it our team rewards program, but it's essentially ways to offset costs. And for example, we're the only company that I know of that does this. But we do a jersey fundraiser. So if you order your custom jerseys and socks with us, we allow the organization to run a jersey fundraiser, and we give back the delta between cost of goods and the retail price back to the program. So we put hundreds of thousands of dollars back in the program's back pockets. And if people really trust us to build a business around their so let's say minor hockey program, we can offset those costs significantly. And if you look at it this way, right, let's say there's 500 kids in an association, so 500 families, right? So now if you imagine that each family is responsible for selling 5 replica jerseys, right? And then if they're getting back, $50 a jersey, let's just say for frame of reference, which is entirely possible. Let's say it's tackle twill. So now you're at $250 a kid times 500 families, and that money goes directly back into the pocket of the associations to offset the costs. I mean, these are the types of things we do. We have a coach care program. We have our own commodities, tape, laces, wax that we give at different thresholds of purchasing. So we're really like heavily partnership focused. Perfect example too is sticks, right? So, the top tier equivalent stick, for Bauer True CCM Warrior, it's all over $400 now. Ours is available all the time at $249. This is for senior shaft.
Yep.
If you're a team that buys custom from us, you get our stock sticks at $159, and we'll do a custom graphic for you for sticks at $159, or you can have essentially any team or association graphic and at the same price, team player name on there, player number. We do 4 order windows. So it's just another value add to really offset the family's costs. And it goes on and on. There's all kinds of cool stuff that we have when you partner with us with Verbero to allow us to create programs around the business to business interaction that we have to really offset the costs that have really gone out of control.
Yeah, and I think that it's and it's not just equipment, it's not just travel time, but then the arms race of skill coaches and these type of things. And I'm a little bit concerned. I mean, it is what it is, and the nature's going to take its course. And if you really want to grow the game, you're going to have to make it more available and more affordable. And there's a large age group between 4 years old and U18, and locally here in North Carolina, it's a challenge, right? Because we've had the fortune of working through like I forget what the program through the Hurricanes here, which was great. Shane Willis has been kind of spearheading that with youth for a long time to get new players in, right? And then having rec programs that and I mean, my son played in hand-me-downs till he was probably 13, 14. And everybody wants the new coolest thing. But we in a youth organization was always trying to keep it affordable as much as we could and utilizing ice time in a smarter way. So applaud you guys for doing that. So
this is a fundamental, sorry to talk over you, Jacob. This is a fundamental problem, and it's rampant in our country, whether you're talking about the food that's available, the drugs that are available, whatever it is. I mean, this whole like supply demand situation. If you think about the average young athlete, they're in a traditional school model from whatever 8 till 3, they get home. So the earliest you can probably get them on the ice is 5, and they really should be in bed by 8 o'clock if you're doing things right. So you've got 3 hours of ice effectively to manage all of these kids, and a relative lack of available space to have them there. So then it becomes that the people that own the supply can essentially charge whatever they want to charge, and that's built into the program. And subsequently, the businesses that surround that and all the things that you need, and the costs just keep mounting. So and it's all built backwards, quite frankly. Like if you were going to build it from the start, well, you'd have the space. You'd partner with a company like Verbero that has a lot of value add upside. You'd offer homeschool opportunity, because then the kids can touch the ice, during the day when it's sitting vacant in most places. So there really is a lot of stuff that you can do if it was built from scratch. But again, there are a couple of groups in the U.S. that are buying up all the facilities, and the costs are not changing. They're not going to change. They're probably honestly only going to go up. So I'm mindful of this, and I can only contribute where we can, and I really am passionate, obviously, as you can tell, about Verbero making a difference in this regard.
So let's talk about Verbero, because I think it's interesting. How did you, so when you left as a pro, because you could have went into coaching, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're saying that like that's a great choice. I mean, I just come out of a 16-year career with tremendous volatility, and to be honest, I wasn't. I'm also like educated, and I have aspirations to use my brain in different ways. And I so really, truthfully, I tried all kinds of things. I worked in the product, IP licensing space, product development space. I helped out with a lot of really cool brands and did some brand development and marketing related work in that space. And life has a funny sense of humor, and then I ended up going and working as president of a multi-brand hockey company. So I really got to understand, the retail side of things, the e-commerce side of things, really direct to consumer sales. I owned a nutritional supplement company, and I owned a fishing apparel company, and I did a whole bunch of different stuff. And I like to think of it as that I was really able to amass a world-class business education. And I was fortunate to work with some really incredible people who taught me a lot of great stuff. And then lo and behold, I got an opportunity to acquire the Verbero brand. And really, I obviously had been in the game my whole life on many sides now at this point, the business side added to my playing career. And at that time, I got a chance to really hear what a lot of the pain points were, and my base nature is to analyze these things and problem solve. I mean, that's sort of where my engineering background really helps me a lot, and I was really able to look at it like a math problem and then work backwards. So we created all kinds of proprietary software, and really the main rub was in the transparency of the process, right? And like people weren't able to see where their product was in process, that wasn't arriving on time, it was wrong, customer communication was poor, even the items themselves, like great disparity across the board relative to like what quality looks like. Well, as you can see behind me, I mean, I've worn a lot of different jerseys, thankfully, over the course of my life, so quality wasn't an issue. And I've got great manufacturing partners that we developed, programs around. We have an online team store feature that we can turn on and off. We do the jersey fundraisers that I talked about. I mean, we'll host just about anything in a dedicated team store. So from that standpoint, it was really all about partnerships. And, I wanted to make sure that Verbero was known for our ability to really provide ongoing value beyond just delivering a commoditized product. And that's why all these programs are rounded out to really surround the partners that we choose to bring on board, with opportunities to insulate the business, with ways to monetize the program, and also offset the costs for the families that are involved, while also providing value to the team managers and the people that are unpaid in these programs to take their load off, take some significant load off of their shoulders to give them their time back. Because that's the other thing that I found in a lot of these RFPs. Nobody's evaluating the cost of their time. Nobody's evaluating the cost of parental frustration. Nobody's evaluating the value that what it would be meaningful for a parent to be able to offset the costs by realizing benefits of a jersey fundraiser. Because then, if it's a family affair and you live it, so if it's a family affair and now you're like, shoot, like we need to go figure out how we can sell 15 of these jerseys, 20 of these jerseys to families, friends, neighbors, whatever it is. I mean, it all goes back, and we run it as a competition, which makes it super fun. So the families like that are first, second, and third prize, they get Verbero products, they get sticks, they get gloves, they get pants, they get a team association apparel. We build out a really fun way to manage this and make it a competition, and it's really gone well for us, from a account acquisition and retention standpoint.
Well, talk about the quality aspects, because I think that there's a, how much does it differ, right? The big brands and especially, what are the myths and what are the truths about a stick, for example, and where it's made, and how much difference is it between, a CCM FT5 versus a CCM FT6, and the ability to mark it up for another $50 from one season to another, and the difference between a true versus a CCM versus a Bauer versus a Verbero.
Well, I mean, you've hit the nail on the head, right? So like the analogy that I like to give all the time, and we have an amazing skate. We have the only true one-piece carbon fiber skate on the market. So if you look at, let's say the model's broken, right? Because the main companies that you mentioned, they're all like highly retail focused, right? The only way that they survive is by forcing minimum purchases onto the retailers, right? What's the only way that I can force you to buy something? Well, it's if I push out something that's new. It doesn't even have to be better. It can have a different paint job. It can be a different line that is identical with a different aesthetic. So in that regard, like they've already duped the customer, the main customer, and then those people's job is to go out and force feed that to the clientele that still focus on retail as an environment. You can tell when you go and say look at a skate waterfall of one of these brands and look at how many different skates are there from $200 to $1,200 and how much they all look identical. Yep. So if you really look at the difference between the $200 retail skate and say the $1,200 retail skate, it might be $50 or $60 at the manufacturing level. So you tell me, why does a customer need to pay $1,000 for something that costs the brand $50 or $60? It doesn't make any sense. So for us, like we're a best in class product company. I've already mentioned to you like how we bring savings back, and then even the stick, right? So the sticks are always a hot button. And I'll put our stick up against any of the competitor top tier equivalents, right? So they're over $400 now. We're full time at $249. Well, if you're a team that buys with us, you get access to our sticks at $159. So just another value add beyond the Jersey fundraiser program and coach care program and some of the other things we do. But the sticks are essentially all identical. I mean, you can say what you're going to coat it with this, boron or anything else. What you're buying is marketing. And then on top of that, they don't communicate with the core. They've turned their backs on grassroots hockey. They don't sell to retailers that don't buy beyond a certain threshold. So they've essentially said to grassroots hockey, you're not important enough. We're just going to focus on the big dealers. They did that. And then they also compete with the dealers by selling direct on Bauer.com. So, I mean, they want their cake and eat it too. And all they're trying to do is save their fledgling business because the model, it doesn't work. And we've proven that selling direct is the model. Like we build relationships, we build partnerships, and then we work to insulate those partnerships with real value add to include, customer service that's beyond reproach. Where they're just, you can't even get on a phone call with anybody from these other brands, and they push it through these distributors. The distributors can't even get an answer about a product that shows up late, it shows up wrong. There's nothing you can do about it. That's different from us. We can tell you down to the stitch where your jersey is in production, and we also set up automations to make sure it arrives on time and that it arrives accurately.
So what's next in this? I know that we just hot off the press. What was it yesterday that the USA Hockey is going to mandate neck guards for U18 and below here in the US, but what's next in hockey products, and what's next in for Verbero?
Well, for Verbero directly, we try not to blow at the wind, and we try to be real steadfast with what we do, and we know that always people are going to need uniforms. And with us, they're going to have a lot of different options and opportunities around those uniforms and a lot of ways to build a business with us. Outside of that, we're gonna continue to offer the equipment that we sell, and we're gonna massively undercut everybody else with as good or better quality products as their top tier items. And you know what, I say to everybody all the time, we're an equipment manufacturer that focuses on all things custom, and that's essentially who we are. There's nobody else in the space that plays in the same sandbox as us. And there's certainly nobody that cares about the the things that we deem important, identity, allowing you to customize and really carve out a unique space for yourself, your team, your association, yourself as an individual. Be express yourself. Wear something different. It doesn't always have to be, hey, do you want 2 stripes or 3 stripes? Like we do anything that the customer wants to do relative to how open they are to making a statement. So have fun with it. Don't get overcharged. Have a partner that actually wants to be a partner, not just provide something to you and go away until you're supposedly going to order it again the following year. So it's this is where we're going. I think hockey is in a good place in general. I think the game is fast. I think the game is safer than when I played, which is a good thing. I have a son that's coming up in it now. And then I hope in general we can see less catastrophic injury. I mean, I don't like that we're reactive and overreactive to things like the neck guard conversation maybe should have been there all along. I remember Richard Zednik got cut during my career, and Clint Malarchuk before that. I mean, it happens. It's happened. And I don't know why we have to wait until somebody perishes to mandate something like this. Why can't we be more proactive? So hopefully that continues to be the case in hockey, that we're just more proactive, and also, hopefully figuring out strategies to allow more people to access the game and play the great game. Because there's just nothing quite like, gliding on that blade and, sharing that space with your teammates and feeling the wind in your face and collaborating in the way that hockey players do. So I mean, it's definitely I think the best game on the planet, and hopefully we can continue to make it accessible for people.
Are we going to see Verbero in the Swedish juniors and the Swedish players anytime soon?
I'm all about finding the right partner, right? So I have not found a Swedish partner yet. So, if anyone's watching and knows anyone that would want to look at Verbero for Sweden, it's something I'm definitely interested in looking at. I've talked to Peter Sibner about it a little bit, in Elite Prospects, and I don't know that it fits in their business model per se, but I know that Verbero will translate to people, because we just understand what's up. And the beautiful part about it is it's such a great business because we have such a focus on custom items. So we own the factory relationships, and we're able to essentially ship our products worldwide. So we can plug in our business in a way that's very turnkey. And if somebody has the relationships to allow teams and associations to come in and build with us, then that business would be very successful. And it's obviously rounded out with the equipment that we have as well. So I mean, it's definitely something that's of interest and on the table.
Well, it's sad that the one of the most famous brands are no longer around. That was actually not too far away, grown, 45 minutes from my house, which was Yofa. And and so iconic, and maybe not, well, I mean, at the time, not necessarily the best protection, but it became, I mean, so many pros were wearing Yofa because of the protective gear was the best on the market. And then it got bought up, and the game, I mean, the brand is gone. So
yeah, but even in that, Jacob, like, you see the cannibalistic nature with which these other brands operate. It's really just all about cannibalism. It's not, and they don't even adopt the technologies. Like even when Easton was acquired and just basically purchased for the baseball division, and then you essentially squash some of the best hockey products on the market, quite frankly, at the time. They're just done. It's just squashed. It's not about anything else, because they already occupy such a prevalent footprint in retail, and they don't want any competition, right? So, but the best part about it is, in case they haven't noticed, like, people have never been more comfortable buying things directly, right? Amazon has changed the game. People are very happy to sit in their underwear and order gear from Verbero, and all the while they keep fighting to stay in their space and suppress retail. We'll keep working directly with teams and associations, and I'm very happy to play in a different sandbox, as I mentioned.
Yeah, what's the easiest way for those who don't know about Verbero? I mean, it's still growing. So what's the best way to find the products, and where they can see the development and what's out there?
Yeah, for sure. Well, Verbero.com is the gateway. We're in the process of version 3.0 on our website. It should launch in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be really a lot more intuitive and really about the customer journey. And we're always evolving, so it's really a rebirth website too. It's really been focused on our who we are today, and really making sure that we guide the customer journey through our website, because we are an e-commerce company. And I say this all the time, like, I want to be the most e-commerce hockey company. So Verbero.com is the place. If anybody has any questions at all ever about opening up in Sweden, about team uniforms, anything like that, team at Verbero.com is the lifeline. We have, as I mentioned, a really robust customer service team that oversees that email. and we can get you any information you need. We're the only company I know of that gives up the cuff space on gloves. We have low minimums. Like I said, we really just work to be great partners and constantly and consistently bring value to those partnerships. So you just have to get started, make the decision to get started, and I can guarantee you're going to be happier than anything you're using now.
Well, that's awesome. Well, we're going to round out. We always have this kind of segment. Two more things. One is you met yourself at 17. I know you're my age now, so it's a few years ago, right? But you met yourself at 17. What advice would you give yourself at 17? Things you know now that you didn't know back then.
Well, I think the emphasis is, it's funny when I talk to young people, they think hard work is something that they're the only ones that do, right? And that's not the case. Hard work is the common denominator, so you can't talk about it. It can't be something that you think is like makes you unique. If you want to make it anywhere or do anything in your life, hard work has to be the common denominator. The second piece, the thing that I would say to myself is have faith. If you're working hard and you're listening and you're open to learning, then just have faith in your journey and trust the people around you to help guide you. Trust your coaches, listen to your parents, and just have faith. And then in everything you do, just work hard and have faith, and try to learn and try to grow and try to evolve on a daily basis. That's really like all any of us can do.
Awesome. Great advice. Last thing, we have a partnership for you that are listening to this podcast before. We have a partnership which we're trying to do our part with. Our main goal is to educate and inform. Started with educate and inform about Swedish Junior Hockey, and we've branched out in so many ways. But targetaid.com is a fundraising platform that we partner with. And one of the segments on there, we have a presence on targetaid.com, and they just did a partnership with Djurgården, which is one of the top teams in Sweden, and help them raise, I think they're up to 1.6 million Swedish crowns, which is about, significant for organizations there. But it's about content, right? How can we help provide some content for a youth sport organization or not a youth sport organization? But the segment is the team in your heart. So klubben i mitt hjärta is it. So for Andy Sutton, what is the team in your heart, or the close team closest to your heart? You've been with a lot of organizations.
Yeah, it's a crazy one, right?
You can't say Team Verbero.
No, I know. What the interesting. So here, I'll give you sort of the story, and then I'll give you the answer, and I'll give you the chronology. So like growing up, I was a huge Leaf fan. My dad's still a rabid Leaf fan, right? Well, over the course of my career, I realized that they're the biggest bunch of prima donnas on the planet, right? So every time I'd go into Toronto, like I developed a disdain for the Maple Leafs, right? So now I'm kind of agnostic because I played for everybody. I've been out for a decade now. I don't know that many guys anymore on any of the teams. So ironically, I'm now sort of a Leaf fan again, because it's the thing that kind of unifies me and my father. So it gives us a chance to have that to talk about and have that in common.
That is awesome. And for the right reason. And I think that we all have that. I mean, that's the common denominator when you talk to people about, yes, it's this game with this black thing that slides on ice, but it's really about the emotions, right? It's about the emotions that you have that can be with a teammate. It can be with yourself of trying to compete, but also the emotions of being, I'm thinking about my dad, who can't watch a hockey game because he just gets so mad. And part of it is because he's too busy working. He's 75 and still working, but we're 77 now. But we have these conversations of, what did you go to the game? And he's like, no, I just can't. I get so mad, and so then I don't go. But it's emotional, and I think that's great. And so when I ask that question to people, it's really people smile, and what goes back to people's question is really, yes, this is my team, and I've been playing for this one, but this is really my team, which is awesome. So we're gonna have Toronto Maple Leafs is gonna be named under your team of your heart. We'll see what kind of emotions that brings to other people. Andy, thanks for coming on, talking about your journey, talking about the journey that you're in and where you're going, and it's been fun having you on.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks, Jacob.